It's just like you take a piece of gold, for example, like a raw piece of gold out of the earth. And inside that chunk nugget of gold, there's lots of dirt and mud and sticks and whatever, impurities. You heat that up, the gold starts to melt, and all the impurities will float to the surface. When we heat up our internal experience with mindfulness, maybe heat up is a bit of a strong word here, but when we turn our mindfulness in and start to observe our experience, it's like that. It's like we're activating a process, and the impurities are going to pop up. For example, the hindrances, sleepiness and restlessness, or desires and fears and doubts and aversions and anger and hatred. All of these things are going to pop up, not as a bug to our practice, but as a feature. Because if they pop up, we have the opportunity to be mindful, and that mindfulness itself is the active agent of purification. No internal development happens unless we're in the present moment. Mindfulness brings us back to the present moment. That's where the magic happens. No matter how counterintuitive it may seem sometimes, mindfulness brings us back to that present moment where the magic happens. On the way to this kind of transformational path, many impurities will pop up. We need to remind ourselves, like this kind of a mind shift or a mindset shift, or looking at things in a different way, that these are not bugs, they're not problems, they're not prevented, they're not arising in spite of my practice. They're arising because of my practice. They're not bugs, they're features. When any of these impurities arise in the mind, challenging mental states, that is me. Our practice is simply accept, open and allow, differentiate, and be mindful of. When we're not mindful of, we're identified as. When we become mindful of, we differentiate our awareness. If I go too far away with my mindfulness, then I'm dissociating. Again, no purification happens there. If I'm too identified, no purification is happening there. I just observe. And this is where things become very practical. This is a noble path of development. Differentiate, observe, know the experience. As I continue to observe, qualities and characteristics will come more into my mind, so we'll begin to know it deeper. We'll know the qualities and characteristics of what's arising in that moment. Then as you continue to observe, we know what happens to that. In other words, it will change. It will start to change in a process. Now, in the meantime, the mind might wander off, slip away. Doubts can arise, or internal dialogues, internal monologues. Which object do I look at? All of these things. Consider that as just another opportunity to practice. Here comes an experience of confusion, or I don't know what to look at, or thinking, or planning, or selfing. Differentiate from that thinking, planning, confusion, whatever it is. And especially with confusion, when I become mindful of confusion, it brings a clarity. Wow, okay, good. So I'm clear about that. Yeah, I'm confused. There's confusion in the mind. Fantastic. Now I can see it, and I can actually start to understand it, know its qualities and characteristics, and then know what happens to it as I continue to observe. But mindfulness is the key. Whatever's going on, if we are able to kind of differentiate and be mindful in an ever increasing level of refinement, it brings us back on the path. And we are undertaking the noble path of development.